Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a historical and spiritual narrative that is, frankly, like no other. We are looking at the majestic kingdom of Prophet Suleman, also known as Solomon. We're going to unpack the story of an empire that completely transcends normal human understanding. We're talking about a realm where humanity, nature, and the unseen world all collided. The source material we're analyzing today gives us a really profound look not just at his unimaginable power, but at the intense, heartbreaking trials that came right along with it. So what was the secret of the man who ruled humans, jinns, birds, and literally the wind itself? Let's dive right into this. Imagine a ruler whose subjects weren't just everyday people, but jinns, demons, flocks of birds, and the very wind blowing outside your window. The sources describe a kingdom so vast and formidable that it struck awe into the hearts of every great power of that era. He had a throne that could actually fly through the air. He commanded the languages of birds. But you have to wonder, what was the secret behind this man? Was his throne just a fancy structure of gold and silver, or was we looking at something far more advanced? This was a kingdom beyond imagination. Even the greatest modern minds would be absolutely stunned by the technological and mystical marvels of his court. His central throne wasn't just made of ivory, it was embedded with rare rubies, pearls, and emeralds. And the engineering, get this, as Prophet Suleman stepped onto the first step, the entire throne would actually begin to rotate like a mysterious mill. Mechanical golden peacocks would spread their wings, and golden lions would lower themselves and wag their tails. These were absolute marvels crafted by the jinns. Above him, thousands of birds would form a massive living canopy to block the harsh sun, while pigeons literally sprinkled musk and ambergris into the air. He had separate massive armies of humans, jinns, and birds, and to feed this colossal force, 20,000 camels were cooked in his kitchens daily. To put that into perspective, that's feeding a small city every single day. But here is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Ultimate power versus personal humility. Despite commanding the winds and sitting on a ruby throne, how did Prophet Suleman actually live day to day? His personal humility was just astounding. With literally all the wealth of the world at his fingertips, he never took a single penny from the royal treasury for his own meals, not one. Instead, he would weave baskets out of palm leaves with his own hands, sell them in the local market, and eat only from the wages of his own manual labor. He sought this immense kingdom not out of personal pride, but solely to spread the divine message. Part 1. The Trial of the Ring, a 40-day exile. With unparalleled blessings come unimaginable tests. And for Suleman, it all centered around a 40-day exile caused by the theft of a single, powerful ring. He possessed a ring engraved with the greatest name of God, which essentially held the secret to his dominion over the universe. Whenever he needed to wash or visit his wives, he'd entrust this ring to his most loyal maid, Amina. Well, on day 1, a powerful demon leader used dark magic to disguise himself exactly as Suleman. We're talking the exact same face, same voice, same clothes. He took the ring from Amina, sat on the throne, and the entire universe just submitted to him. When the real Suleman stepped out, nobody recognized him. The guards literally pushed him out of his own palace. The king who once flew on the winds was now walking barefoot on burning hot sand. For the next 39 days, he lived in exile. He worked as a humble laborer for fishermen, hauling heavy nets all day long just to earn 2 fish to survive. And why did this happen? According to the narrative, without Suleman knowing, one of his wives had secretly fashioned an idol of her father and was worshipping it right in his home. This divine decree was a profound, stark warning. Finally, on day 40, people were growing really suspicious of the impostor's unrighteous rulings. Fearing exposure, the demon threw the ring into the sea. And Suleman, while preparing his daily wages, cut open a fish and miraculously found his ring inside. The second he put it back on, the winds, the birds, and the jinns all instantly returned to his command. Interestingly, his incredibly wise minister, Asif bin Barkia, actually knew the demon on the throne was an impostor the whole time. When Suleman later asked him, "Why didn't you say anything?" Asif replied with this really profound quote, "My pen was not ready to write oppression. God's decree had to come to pass." He explained that the demon kept demanding he write royal decrees, but Asif's pen physically refused to write oppression. He stayed silent because he recognized that this massive trial was an unavoidable divine decree. It just had to happen. Moving on to part 2, the horses and the sun, a test of duty. 1,000. We are talking about 1,000 magnificent, purebred horses that Prophet Suleman inherited from his father, Prophet Dawood. These weren't just your average horses. They were breathtakingly beautiful, incredibly fast, and specifically destined for righteous struggles. When they stood still, they had this majestic habit of standing elegantly on 3 legs, resting the hoof of the 4th leg lightly on the ground, like absolute royalty. Now, you might be wondering about a very famous historical myth surrounding these horses. Did Prophet Suleman kill these innocent horses in a fit of anger? Here's the setup. One afternoon, Suleman was inspecting these magnificent creatures. The dust kicked up by their hooves was shining like gold in the sunlight. He was so deeply engrossed in their beauty and their divine purpose that he entirely lost track of time. Before he even realized it, the sun had set behind the mountains and he had completely missed his late afternoon Asr prayer. He was devastated. He cried out that his love for the horses had distracted him from the remembrance of his Lord. Some historical rumors later claimed that in his immense grief and frustration, he actually slaughtered the horses. But did a prophet really kill innocent animals? Let's bust that myth right now. Scholars in the source material emphasize that a prophet would absolutely never commit such an act of cruelty against blameless, innocent animals. The text reveals that, instead, he affectionately stroked their necks and legs, gently washing and massaging them. He was essentially performing a beautiful, symbolic purification, lovingly preparing them as dedicated assets for the divine path. So how did he manage to pray his missed prayer? This brings us to a stunning miracle known as Rod-e-Shams, which literally translates to the returning of the sun. Because of his deep, genuine distress, Suleman asked the angels to pray to the divine. And miraculously, the sun, which had already fully set, was commanded to rise right back up above the horizon. The evening shadows vanished, broad daylight returned, and Prophet Suleman was able to perform his ablution and offer his prayer exactly on time. And the wild part? The moment he finished, the sun rapidly set again and the stars instantly appeared. Finally, Part 3, the trial of the heart. A father's grief. 70. This final trial serves as a very stark warning about what happens when we forget our ultimate reliance on the divine. One quiet night, while staring at the stars from his balcony, Prophet Suleman felt this deep, overwhelming desire to raise a generation of righteous warriors. In a moment of sheer passion, he declared that he would visit his 70 wives that very night, so that every single one of them would conceive and give birth to a warrior who would fight for the divine cause. But he made one critical omission, the forgotten InshaAllah. He forgot to say that one simple yet universally crucial phrase, InshaAllah, which means if God wills. Now, this wasn't an act of deliberate disobedience. It was just a human oversight. But for someone of his immense spiritual magnitude, even a tiny slip in complete reliance on the divine brings a swift, heavy lesson. Because he missed saying this phrase, out of all 70 wives, only one conceived. And tragically, she gave birth to a child whose body was incomplete, just a lifeless form. Despite this, Prophet Suleman was heartbroken, but loved the child deeply. He'd often keep the boy right by his side on his throne. Well, one day, during court, he noticed a man staring at the child with this piercing, unnerving gaze. Suleman instantly recognized him. It was the angel of death in human form. Terrified for his beloved child's life, he desperately summoned his most powerful jinns to figure out a plan to hide the boy. It was a frantic escalation. Step 1. One jinn offered to hide the child under the sun's spring in the far east. Suleman rejected it. He knew the angel could easily reach there. Step 2. Another offered the absolute depths of the 7th earth. Again, Suleman said no. Step 3. Finally, a demon suggested taking the child high into the sky, hiding him within the densest, most impenetrable clouds above. Believing this plan was foolproof, Suleman handed his child to the winds to be carried way up into the heavens. And this brilliantly illustrates the central lesson of the whole story. The tragic irony? The angel of death was actually waiting in the clouds. You see, when the angel had been staring at the child down in the court, he wasn't planning to take the soul right there. He was actually confused. The angel had been commanded by the divine to take the child's soul high up in the dense clouds, and he was standing there wondering how on earth this boy, currently sitting on a throne, was ever going to get all the way up there. Ultimately, Suleman's own desperate plan, fueled by the jinn's advice, delivered his child exactly to the time and place where his death was decreed. Suddenly, a crack of thunder echoed, and the lifeless body of his son fell from the sky, landing right back onto his throne. You just cannot outmaneuver destiny. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He had relied on his own schemes and the advice of demons rather than trusting in the divine decree. Completely heartbroken, he fell into prostration, weeping, and offered this profound prayer. "O my Lord, forgive me, and grant me a kingdom such as shall not belong to any other after me." His sincere repentance was immediately accepted. As we wrap up this explainer, this story leaves us with a really provocative thought to reflect on. Prophet Suleman commanded the winds, the jinns, and vast armies. He had wealth beyond human measure. Yet his magical rings could be lost, his greatest plans could fail, and his heart could be completely broken. If the man who held the greatest worldly power ever known had to learn that true control rests entirely in the hands of the divine, what does that mean for the rest of us? Take a moment today to think about who truly holds the power in your own life. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive, and I'll see you next time.